This is the man that you need to listen to for the next half an hour or so. It is Rikki. Take us to the stage.
Hello, hello. Okay, thank you so much. Thanks for coming. My name is Rikki. As Joe said, I have this project called Bitcoin Explorers. I am a storyteller. I am a Bitcoin activist. And the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is because I want to raise the awareness of why Bitcoin matters all over the world, but especially in hyperinflating economies or autocracies or in the global south. And the reason why I believe this is so important is because here in the West, we have really no clue of what's going on in those areas of the world. So today I want to take you to a journey in Kibera. Kibera is one of the biggest urban slum in Africa. It's in Nairobi. We are in Kenya. I was there visiting this place just a few months ago. As you can see from this picture, Kibera is also called the chocolate city. The reason why it's called the chocolate city is because all the shacks in Kibera have a tin roof, and the tin roof rots immediately and start rust. So the view from Kibera, from the top, is like this. Everything looks like a chocolate bar from the distance. But the thing with Kibera is that nobody knows how many people live there. Someone says 500,000, someone thinks we have more than 1 million, 1.5 million people. Nobody knows how many people live here. And the reason why we don't know is because there is no way to know. Kibera is, the average population in Kibera lives with $2 per day. So extreme poverty. 12% of the population in Kibera has HIV. The problem there is that there are so many problems there, but the reason why the situation is so dire is because there is no access to clean water, and scarce hygiene in a place like this is still the main source of disease. But you have to visit a slum like Kibera to realize that there is a misconception in the Western world about a slum. We think everyone in Kibera is dying, everyone is starving, that it's hell on earth. And that is partially true. But if you go there and see with your own eyes, you will realize that in Kibera, it's a city within the city. It's an entire different society. You find shops, you find small entrepreneurship, you can buy food, you can buy clothes, you can buy electronics. Not everyone is starving. When you walk in the streets of Kibera, you're gonna probably meet a man that lives there and that dresses elegantly, has maybe a suit. The reason why you see this is because not everyone is unemployed in Kibera. They just arrived, maybe they work, they have a work in the city. They just live and sleep in Kibera because that job doesn't give them enough money to leave the slum. In those cases, many send money home. They come from the rural areas of Kenya. So the money they get is basically the only income the family has. They have to send money home in their village. So it's bustling with life, a slum like Kibera. There is technology. They have cheap smartphone. They use technology in order to make their life better, to increase their business, exactly as we do in our daily life. Just differently. Why differently? Because, for example, in Kibera you see this. You can buy food in a fine establishment like this one, and as you can see from the picture, there is a sign Bitcoin accepted here. And in this fine establishment, they accept Bitcoin using BTCP's Pay server with a Blink wallet, accepting Lightning transaction instantly. Custodial Lightning is not Bitcoin. Okay, va bene, it's okay, but it's something. It's a tool they can use. In Kibera, you see things like this. This guy is my favorite. You can buy a smoochie that is a small hot dog, a little spicy. And this guy has even a Bitcoin umbrella. It costs $1, and they accept Bitcoin on Lightning. And it's so proud of accepting Bitcoin that this is how proud he is. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can tell. So all these people that live in Kibera are already using Bitcoin in order to make their life better, to increase their business. Bitcoin is there. Why Bitcoin is there? How is this possible? It's possible because in Kibera that we have Bitcoiners doing the work on the ground. For example, there are several different projects. There is Afribit Kibera. They teach the people from the slum how to use Bitcoin to save. With the little saving they have, it doesn't matter. But still, they learn about digital scarcity. They understand for the first time why their national currency is inflating. The Kenyan shilling is inflating. It's not the worst African fiat coin. And then you have projects like Bitcoin Dada. They teach Bitcoin and they run a Bitcoin education program targeted to women. They even teach women how to code. They have a program that teach female coder developers to be more active and to understand what means coding Bitcoin. And then you have people like Felix. Felix is the leader of this nice project called The Core. And what Felix does is not only providing education, but Felix also is in charge on onboarding the merchants. He has many friends, he's well connected, and he's telling all his friends why they should use Bitcoin, why they should start accept Bitcoin in their very, very, very small businesses. Well, in case you are asking, yes, Felix is wearing a jacket with the Bitcoin logo upside down. The reason why is because it was a mistake by the printer. Nothing goes to waste in Kibera, you posh pricks. So Felix and all the other companies and all the other groups I just told you about, they use the textbook Buy Me Premier Bitcoin. They teach people why Bitcoin matters, and they proactively onboard merchants. In Kibera and more broadly in Nairobi, I was there. I could buy food. I could buy in Bitcoin. I could buy clothes in Bitcoin. I could buy cheap electronics. I could buy, for example, movies, digital files, and that's because Felix is doing a fantastic job in educating all these merchants. And what do they use to accept Bitcoin? Yes, the Bitcoin protocol, the Lightning Network, but I also use their cheap smartphones. Because you see, Kenya leads Africa in digital payments. If you walk in Kibera, every single shop looks like this. The M-Pesa logo. You're gonna see that logo everywhere in Africa, in the rich part of Nairobi, and in every single rural village in the middle of nowhere, you are gonna find the M-Pesa logo. What is M-Pesa? M-Pesa is an everything app that handles digital payments and so much more. It's similar to what WeChat does in China or Gcash does in Asia. And everyone uses M-Pesa in Kenya. Everyone that has a smartphone uses M-Pesa. Is everywhere. You can buy everything, every store accepts M-Pesa. So they are ready. They understand what a digital payment can do to their daily life. What is M-Pesa? M-Pesa is an app developed by Safaricom. Safaricom is the main mobile operator in Kenya, and Safaricom is owned by the Kenyan government. As you can tell, they pride themselves to remind us that M-Pesa is regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya. So this is the government. Number one app for digital payment in Africa. Millions of people use M-Pesa daily, especially in Kenya. Now, is M-Pesa free? No, M-Pesa is not free. M-Pesa is as a fee, as a small fee. You can withdraw money, you can send payment, you can top up your mobile phone. Every single thing you do on M-Pesa, it costs a fraction, a small fee. But at the end of the month, everyone is complaining in Kenya about this fee. It's good money for them, but it's the only digital payment it's the only form of digital payment they have access to. So, as I said, Felix and the other guys in Kenya are working hard to promote Bitcoin, but adoption is very slow. Super slow. It's hard for them to understand. We need a killer app. We need something that is going to incentivize Bitcoin adoption in Africa, especially in this case in Kibera and in Kenya, faster. But Africa is full of talent. There is a lot of talent in Africa. I met amazing developers in Africa. And someone of these amazing developer is a Bitcoiner. And they come out with this. Tando. Easily spend Bitcoin anywhere in Kenya. How does it work? Tando interacts with the M-Pesa app. Every merchant that accepts M-Pesa payments in Kenya now, thanks to this app, can accept Bitcoin payments. How does it work? When a merchant shows you the M-Pesa QR code, you use Tando to scan this QR code, and Tando converts that QR code in a Lightning QR code. And at that point, you can use your Bitcoin wallet, Bitcoin Lightning wallet, and pay the bill and pay the M-Pesa invoice. The merchant instantly receive shilling, Kenyan shilling. But there is one very smart feature of M-Pesa. Spend Bitcoin anywhere. M-Pesa is accepted in Kenya with 0 transaction fee. Why no fees? Because the company, Tando, is taking care of those fees. Tando is actively paying the fees for M-Pesa customers. And what is the business model? What is the business model? How can they afford to pay for potentially millions of Kenyan users? They are Bitcoiners. They keep the Bitcoin that everyone is sending them, and they send them M-Pesa shilling in exchange. So basically, they are betting on the Bitcoin price to grow in order to be sustainable. Of course, is a bet, is very bold. But Africa is made of very bold people. And this is the first time we see this business model. And I think we're going to see something very similar in the future, because Bitcoin companies are realizing that there is a byproduct when you are a Bitcoin company. You hold Bitcoin, the most scarce and innovative protocol and asset in the world. So I believe this is going to be huge in Kenya. Now, I don't know if you heard the news, but back in June, this happened in the streets of Nairobi, but not just in Nairobi, in every city, in every big city in Kenya. People started rioting, protesting against the government, against the president. It was a huge protest. They blocked the streets of the city for one entire week. They organized this mob peacefully in a non-violent way, using social media to raise awareness among the other citizens. What they are protesting for, this guy says reject finance bill. What happened in Kenya back in June of this year, is that the government proposed a new finance bill that basically raised taxes all over Kenya. Taxes on, they proposed taxes on food, new taxes on gas, new taxes on cars or motorbike. And guess what? Ironically, in this finance bill, they introduce a 20% tax on all digital payments. 20%. Now, think about it. The government of Kenya owns the leading platform that offers digital payments in Kenya. M-Pesa is full on KYC, so they know everything. They know who's spending. They know how much they are spending. So it's perfect. It's perfect. They basically have a record, and it's the easiest tax they could implement. Now, this is something we should not underestimate just because it's going on, it's happening in Kenya. Because centralized digital payments platforms owned by the government are the perfect Orwellian tool for tax collection. It's perfect. So the incentive for a central government, it's too good. If you think in the near future, our government is not going to try to push on us a centralized, full KYC digital platform because this is free Europe, wake the up. But hey, we have a hero in Kenya. Our hero is Felix that did this during the protest in Nairobi. I propose Bitcoin, peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Bravo, Felix. This is how, obviously, the government reacted to the mobs. They used the military, they used gas, and they shot. 39 protesters were killed during the repression of the protest in Kenya this summer. Hundreds of them injured. Also, Felix was among the injured. But he's good. We text each other after the riots and he sends love. Now, there is one question I would like you to think. Why a government is proposing something like that financial new bill I just spoke about? Why? I mean, they're not stupid. Politicians in Kenya are corrupted. The system is not good, but Kenya is not a dictatorship in the very sense of the word. Kenya is a democracy. The president was elected democratically. Nobody expected him to come out with such a new crazy financial bill. Why a government propose such a thing, knowing that there are millions of his citizens that are starving because of this? This is the public debt of Kenya from 1999 to 2024. We estimate that Kenya, at the end of this year, will have $79 billion debt. It's huge. 65% of the balance of Kenya, every year they have to go to the IMF to repay the loan, the national debt. And this is something that is nothing new. It's been going on for decades now. This guy, I really like him, Jason Hickel, wrote a fantastic piece. It's called Aid in Reverse. And he did the math. In 2012, developing countries received a total of $1.3 trillion, including aid, investment, and income from abroad. But the very same year, 2012, African countries had to pay $3.3 trillion. That means that developing countries sent 2 trillion more than what they received from the world to the world. That's why Hickel is calling this aid in reverse. We are led to believe we are giving money to developing countries to develop them. But it's the opposite. The developing countries are developing us. This is a business for the World Bank and for the IMF. And ironically, this started to happen as I just showed you. After the 60s, when national freedom was granted to many African countries, where officially colonialism ended, and after the fiat standard, because this model is sustainable only in the fiat standard. But if it's if this is true, how come nobody's saying something? Why there are no African presidents that are opposing this economic regime? Why nobody's speaking up? Africa is a huge country. That's not true. Someone did it. Back in 1987, Thomas Sankara, the president of Burkina Faso, while he was addressing the Organization of African Unity, said, we cannot pay and we do not have to pay because we are not responsible for this debt. This speech, you find it on YouTube. I highly recommend you to watch it. It's amazing. This speech was made in July 1987. In October of the same year, this happened. Sankara, the president of Burkina Faso, was killed by his vice president, by the rebel army of his vice president, in a coup. And we know that this coup was fine for France and for the secret services of the United States of America. Let's put it that way. It was fine for them. So there is no escape from this system. Only the Western world, only who controls money, only the dollar system can allow something like this to happen, because the dollar standard is so strong that they can print an infinite amount of money while preserving more or less the economic situation of the area of influence, of the US dollar area of influence. We have inflation, but that's not that hard. But only the US, only the Federal Reserve and the World Bank can afford to do that. A small country cannot print money to pay back for a loan made of printed money. So we are giving them toilet paper, and they have to give us back. They have to repay us with real money. If we look at what happened since now, it's 60 trillions. That's how much money we took from these countries. 16 trillions, guys. And we don't know if this number is accurate. Why? Do you remember that I just talked about year 2012? Those calculations I just showed you are made on old data, because conveniently, I think, that's the last year that the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund published those data. 12 years ago. We don't know those numbers anymore. Conservatively, probably they doubled. So this is going on as we speak, and there is no way to revert it, because we are dependent, our economies are dependent from that amount of money that Africa, and not only Africa, guys, the game works everywhere in the global south. So, knowing this, I'm gonna use 30 seconds of your time, because I want you to reflect about something. Every time you buy Bitcoin, every time you transfer, you pay with Bitcoin, you are not investing, you are not paying, you are subverting the status quo. You are helping a global network to grow. You are helping Bitcoin to revert the situation. It's a revolutionary act. Bitcoin is a peaceful revolution. Bitcoin is the only weapon we have to create a new society that is more equal. Bitcoin is the only shot we have to make economic colonialism unaffordable, because this is a new form of colonialism. The good news is that every time you make a Bitcoin transaction, we are striking back in a non-violent way, proactively. And this is powerful. It's the first time in human history that we have such a powerful tool. Thank you.